out beyond all wrongdoing and right doings, there is a field. I'll meet you there. And it is that field that you already are that you can learn to express. Right? This field of unconditional acceptance, unconditional love is something that switches on as the divine mirror, right? Switches on as the reflecting power that you become. So this presence begins with devotional self-acceptance, this presence, this field you come home to through self-acceptance. Welcome to the Divine Mirror, where we dive deeply into the journey of discovering your unique inner medicine. I'm your host, Harrison, and here we explore how each of us can become a force of healing and transformation simply by showing up authentically. Join me as we uncover the steps needed to be the cure that is you and the magic of being a true divine mirror for others. Let's step into this journey together. Your inner magical medicine awaits. Welcome back, powerful heart, to episode 3 of the Divine Mirror. I am your host, Harrison, and today's focus of the Divine Mirror journey is cultivating self-acceptance and devotion. These are, in my opinion, the fundamental, most practical ways that you can start to really harness this beautiful mirror and medicine that you are on a daily basis. We've spoken about in our first 2 episodes the truth, the universal truth that you are already that which you want to be, or that already that which you want to see. Yet, for most of us, I know for me, along my journey, it was very hard to keep this in a consistent way, to keep this connection to my power, to my truth, to my medicine, and to this mirror in a very consistent way. So how do we do that? And today's episode is really answering that specific question, cultivating self-acceptance and devotion as the tool for this. So we're going to get into some teachings around this, some channels from me, and some practical exercises, as always, to have this as a part of your routine moving forward. Before we get to all of that, a quick recap on episode 2. We talked about the many stories and limiting beliefs that for most of us lay unconscious and hold us back from emitting this divine mirror. We talked about how your loving awareness can unlock and release your spirit, yourself, from the shadowiness of the thoughts, of the beliefs, of the stories, and how you can cultivate a inner sense of safety to really show yourself that all is okay, because all of the stories that we talked about, from you are not magical, you are not special, you are not enough, from self-sabotage to my voice doesn't matter, to it's selfish to share my own gifts, all of it comes from a sense of fear, pain, and not feeling safe. So if you can really concentrate a feeling of safety within yourself through your own special ways, your own intuitive ways, then you can really release a lot of these stories. I gave you some homework that I would still love to hear more about. If you want to reach out to me on social media, we talked about the Ho'oponopono prayer, cultivating some journaling exercises to come up with ideas that you need to implement to feel safe. And I gave you a cleansing prayer. So if you haven't gotten in touch with me around how that homework went, please reach out to me. Okay, so I want to get into today's discussion, today's teaching here around your divine mirror and self-acceptance devotion. I want to begin with another one of my poems to really set the tone here. And this poem is called The River of Emotion. On the bridge of emotions and feelings I look, detaching from chaos that all this energy took. A stream of dense frequency flowing so free. I watch them all glide as the river to the sea. Embracing stillness in my stance, I find my repose, observing the current as it ebbs and flows. The ripples of joy and the waves of deep despair. each emotion dancing openly, creating an affair. I stand on the wood as a silent observer, savoring the moments, each feeling of fervor. The laughter that glistens, sparkling and bright, the tears that cascade, a symphony strung tight. From anger's fiery blaze to love's gentle breeze, I witness the whole spectrum, my heart opens to ease. For I am not the stream, nor the emotions it holds, but an audience with awe, watching as life's story unfolds. Through turbulent rapids and tranquil lagoons, I navigate the depths beneath the nightly moons. The current of life forever in motion, yet I remain rooted, witnessing all the commotion. For in divine detachment, a profound truth I know, that emotions are fleeting, they come and they go. I am the watcher and the witness in my stride, gently allowing the flow of the stream where all my emotions abide. No longer swept away by the tides of despair, no longer clinging to moments that I deemed oh so unfair. I surrendered to the stream, letting go of my control, finding solace in this emotional journey, awakened for my soul. For as I look on with patient love and curiosity, I discover the emotional beauty of my feeling sensitive luminosity. So, as always, with these episodes, as they start to move, I aim to pick poems that I've written that really resonate with with the theme of today's episode. And as you have probably picked up from that poetry, a lot of the themes of self-acceptance and devotion we can really see here, especially when we relate to our emotions. Along this journey of awakening to your divine mirror and the medicine that is you, developing self-love and acceptance is a foundational step. And part of that self-love and acceptance is learning to love and accept not just all these beliefs and stories that we talked about last episode, but also the emotions, the feelings that come up that often take us away. And it is here I really want to break down really what it means to accept, really what it means to do this as a devotional practice, because we are here to be devotional, not disciplined. Discipline often applies to struggle and hardship. Discipline often applies to I need to do the thing or else. I need to be disciplined or I'm not going to be enough. Where we're here today to swap that to devotion. You are doing this for love. You are doing this for yourself. You are doing this because you are devotional to the power that is you. So today's devotional acceptance and self-acceptance, cultivating self-acceptance journey is really one of becoming aware of what is moving through. So in the previous episode, again, we talked about the thoughts and the stories. And here we are talking about the feelings and emotions. Both, we can apply the acceptance to both, but I want to use feelings and emotion as an example today. To be the divine mirror that reflects power, reflects love, you are here to not be perfect. There is no perfection, but let's say there is, you don't want it. You're here to reflect love in its purest, unconditional state. So part of that is learning to apply self-acceptance to all the parts of you, including these emotional parts that we're talking about today. And when we start to apply awareness with acceptance, it's important to understand that, and this applies to all the pieces of us, but again, we'll particularly hit on emotion here. When we have, let's say, an emotion of anger come up, there are really 3 stages of awareness that we can apply. The first is ignoring it or suppressing it, which we've all done. I've done. Right? I've ignored that hard anger. I've ignored that heaviness and suppressed it and pretended it isn't there. If we're not doing that, we're most likely doing the second stage, which is we become the emotion, become the feeling of emotion, and we get lost in it. And we project that anger out into the world. We take it out on the people, the places, the things that we love. But the third stage is where we really want to be. And it's a big theme of the poem that I just read you. We want to be the loving watcher, the loving observer, the spirit, the energy on the river of emotion that is fully present, is there as the emotion or the river moves. And that is really the crux of this devotional self-acceptance, that we can apply on a regular basis. This becomes the foundation of any kind of practice we want to implement, right? And I'm going to give you at the end of this recording today, this episode, I'm going to give you some homework and some specific practices that you can incorporate self-acceptance as a devotional act into. But just here in this moment, really start to see this as your superpower, your act of rebellion, really, right? Your act of rebellion towards a lot of societal, cultural, religious expectations that we can have, right? Because a lot of us, myself included, grew up, and I'll give a very specific example in my reality. I grew up as a boy that was told that feeling and being sensitive, specifically in this way, is weak. Feeling and being sensitive is not manly, is not masculine. And really learning to accept our feelings, accept our sensitivities, is pushing against a belief system like this, right? Maybe you have something similar, or maybe you are in a different box, but has the same sort of flair of, oh, I can't do this, or else I'm not enough, I'm not loved, I'm not who I'm meant to be. So this sensitivity towards accepting all of you is really a power that you can start to hold. And in that specific self-acceptance superpower, you start to walk home to your divine mirror, right? If you are, as we've spoken about in previous episodes, if you are already that which you want to be, this divine mirror, then your act of devotion, not discipline, remember, your act of devotion is a way that you can constantly walk home to that wholeness, constantly walk home to that fullness, constantly walk home to that bright reflection that you wish to share with the world. But it's really a field of energy, a field of consciousness you can learn to emit. This devotional self-acceptance energy is something that you not only feel internally and starts to switch on a lot of light bulbs, internal pieces of awareness, but is also something people feel, right? In episode 1, I talked about how we shared the Marianne Williamson poem and how your ability to liberate yourself liberates others. This is an example of that. This devotional practice of self-acceptance becomes a field that people can experience from you, whether you are speaking or not, whether you are sharing modalities or not. One of my favorite Rumi quotes is, "Out beyond all wrongdoing and right doings, there is a field. I'll meet you there." And it is that field that you already are that you can learn to express. Right? This field of unconditional acceptance, unconditional love is something that switches on as the divine mirror, right? Switches on as the reflecting power that you become. So this presence begins with devotional self-acceptance, this presence, this field you come home to through self-acceptance. And self-acceptance, as stated before, is not accepting that you are perfect. It's actually the opposite, accepting that you are imperfect, and that is beautiful. Accepting that your imperfections are what make you both divine and the messy human that you are. The messy human that is here to be in Earth School, to be in all of the lessons, in the sensitive emotional lessons that are needed, because that is really when we accept our feelings and emotions that come up, they don't just move through us and go. They move through us and come with guidance. So let's be super specific, right? Let's say that you're listening to this show and you want to activate this divine mirror, to support others, to be of service in the best way that you can. And let's say in that instant, you feel some anger come up, you feel some sadness come up, you feel some other heaviness. One, that's not a coincidence. And two, it is that emotion that brings guidance to help you with that exact intention. I'll say that again. It's that exact emotion that brings communication and guidance to help you with your intention. Right? Emotions, as the Rumi quote said, there is a reality where we cannot see them as good or bad. They just are. They come with guidance that we can take. Right? Another quote really connects to this. The cave that you fear to enter holds the treasures that you seek. Joseph Campbell. The cave that you fear to enter holds the treasures that you seek. And it is this emotion and feeling that sometimes we don't want to experience, especially if we're doing that first stage of awareness where we're ignoring and suppressing. We're sometimes ignoring and suppressing the exact emotion that we need the most. Sometimes suppressing the exact feeling that brings us the exact guidance that we need in this moment. So, summarizing that, when we apply the self-acceptance to our emotional feeling reality, it brings us closer to where we want to be, right? It brings us closer to the intention that we set. So this is really a practice, a devotional practice. You are already full, you're already complete, this divine mirror is you, and every day you get to be in the journey of becoming and practice devotional self-acceptance to really make sure that as much as you can be in this place. How perfect? You can be in this place imperfectly as much as you desire. But it begins by showing up for yourself. It begins by showing up in this self-acceptance way. And there's no, I'll give another example in my reality. Growing up in religious teachings, it can be easy to judge ourselves, right? When we're not accepting, we're not being in this devotional reality towards ourselves. And we are doing the opposite, right? We're judging ourselves. We're seeing that we're wrong. We're seeing that we're not enough. We're not good enough. And it's in this place that we can give ourselves permission to release it, because there's nothing marking us wrong or right. There is us, and we get to make that choice, right? We get to come back to the truth that we are the thing that's looking. We are the thing that we're looking for and the thing that is looking. So you get to make that choice to accept or not. You're not judged either way, but I know the reality that I want to live in is if I release that judgment and come home to my power, then my reality is going to expand. My reality is going to be more favorable to me. So this is really a big conversation of self-discovery, big conversation of coming to a truth that is there. All right, so let's keep it moving here. And I hope this practice of self-acceptance and devotion has become very clear. And I want to really underline the fact that this is a practice, and it will take some time, especially if you've been living in different realities where it isn't the norm. Right? If you're living in realities, I'm thinking my mind first goes to like big business and the tech world and the high entrepreneurial reality where you're go all the time. It's very easy to fall back to the consciousness that you're not enough. There's always something to be done. There's more to be doing. And yes, this devotional practice of self-love requires you to be in it, to show up for yourself. And it first requires the step of knowing that you are already whole, right? As the first 2 episodes hopefully really impressed on you, the answer is there's nothing to get. So you come from that place. Instead of coming from the place of scarcity and not enoughness, you come from the place of fullness and wholeness, and then devotion, and then self-acceptance. So what are some practices here, right? What are some practices that we can really use to implement all of this? You should really use to discover this power of self-acceptance, really use to come back to this unconditional love of self-acceptance that you are. So the first of which is a quick little meditation, right? A 5-minute meditation. And I want you to sit down, set the intention to really be with or accept, well, let's use a different word, be with all that you are. And I want you to visualize, if you are currently a parent or you know a parent, I want you to visualize either that parent or yourself holding a child, holding a beautiful baby. And in that meditation, in that visualization, I want you to really start to see what would happen if that baby started to scream, if that baby started to be taken away by emotion, start to express it fully. What would happen? Would that parent put the baby down? Would that parent become that anger, become that emotion? Would that parent run away? Would that, be honest with yourself, what would that parent do? And maybe that parent is you. If you're like me, the answer to that is not only would that parent remain present for that baby experiencing that emotion, that pain, that fear, whatever it is, but that parent would show up in a frequency of self-acceptance, of unconditional love, of compassion, of support. So meditate on that image, on that visualization, and then I want you to end this meditation, and it should be no longer than 5 minutes. I want you to fit this into your routine. I want you to end that meditation with asking yourself, how can you apply this to you? How can you apply this practice of holding the child to yourself, specifically to the parts that get lost in emotion and anger and fear and sadness? How can you apply holding the child to those pieces of yourself? How can you learn to be that unconditional loving field, that self-acceptance field of compassion, of support for you? And let me know how that goes. Practice homework number 2. I want you to pick a big illusion, a really big shadow, something that you are constantly getting stuck in. So, for example, let's say that you are going through a relationship separation and there are deep feelings of resentment, deep feelings of jealousy, deep feelings of anger, deep feelings of judgment to that person. And you pick that illusion, pick that shadow. And again, you could do this in meditation. You could do this around breath work. You could do this around going for a walk in the forest, whatever your preference is. Take that shadow with you. And I want you to ask for higher guidance around that particular shadow, right? Ask for higher guidance around what needs to be done. How do you approach that specific shadow? And higher guidance could be simply just that, right? You could also refer to, maybe you have some connection with your higher self. Maybe you have some connection to some guides or entities that you work with, but don't overcomplicate it. Just seek higher guidance. And higher is not like, it's not linear, right? It's not like higher is better, but higher is expanded, right? A more expanded consciousness of potentially, most likely, what you have been looking at that illusion from. So ask for it and receive. Right? This is really practicing the quote of Joseph Campbell, right? The cave that you fear to enter holds the treasures that you seek. So the cave here is this big illusion, this big shadow, and we're looking to receive the treasure by opening to higher guidance. And if this is still challenging to you, all good. Do some of the other practices. We'll speak more about connecting to your higher guidance in a few episodes. And then finally, the last practice, last piece of homework I'm going to give you around self-acceptance and this devotional practice towards your divine mirror is, I want you to start to embody what it would be to be that field that Rumi speaks to. Right? The quote again is, out beyond all wrongdoings and right doing, there is a field, I'll meet you there. So I want you to practice stepping forward as the field that holds it all, stepping forward as the field that holds it all. And the field, I don't just mean in that imagery of Rumi like a field with flowers and wheat and grass. Not just that, but I mean like the field of consciousness, the field of God, the field of the divine, whatever your word is for a higher power, that field that encompasses everything. What does it look like specifically for you to step forward as that, right? Stepping forward as the field that contains your shadows, contains your greatest light and accomplishments, and moves forward. So why this is an important practice is we can learn to implement this in our moments of challenge, in our moments of highest darkness, right? When we feel small, when we get lost in our emotions, our heavy limiting beliefs, the parts of us that are uncomfortable, and we don't do anything, right? If you're like me, you most likely, when you get stuck in this heaviness, you freeze, you are paralyzed, you feel like nothing can be done. And it is here we apply this practice. What would it look like if I stepped forward as the field that holds it all? And often, this is what leads to our greatest expansion. This is what leads to our greatest awakening, because in that moment, you create a new reality, right? You create a new reality of possibility, a new reality that is filled with your fullness rather than your smallness, rather than the current consciousness of scarcity, of lack, of fear, of pain that you are making the choice to believe. So those are the 3 practices. Let me know again on social media how you go with them. Again, social media you'll find in the show notes at Harrison Ma, Ma spelled MEAGHER. Instagram is probably the best way to start with that, and really apply these. Right, it's one thing to receive these episodes and really understand the teachings and the guidance. It's another thing to act and explore them. So I'll be here. I can't wait to hear how it unfolds for you. And that's really it for today's lesson on self-acceptance and devotion on the way to your divine mirror. In the next episode, we're going to talk specifically about, okay, we understand the divine mirror, we understand the limiting beliefs and the emotions that get in the way and what to do about them. Now, once we start to move through, how do I identify what is actually my unique medicine, the unique mirror that I am? Because you're not just a divine mirror, you are a unique divine mirror. So in next episode's discussion, I'm going to break down what this actually means. How do we find it? What do we do about it? And so much more. So I'll see you then. In the meantime, I send you love. I send you so much consciousness to really expand that divine mirror that you are. And I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for joining me on this episode of The Divine Mirror. Remember that this journey of unlocking your inner medicine doesn't have to be done alone. If you're ready for personalized guidance, reach out to me for one-on-one coaching, and let's walk home along this path together. I'd love for you to share also this episode with friends and loved ones who might also find inspiration along this journey. And don't forget to connect with me on social media to share your reflections and insights and the outcomes of your homework from each episode. I can't wait to hear how your inner transformation unfolds. And until next time, keep shining and embracing that beautiful mirror within you.